Hi everybody, my name's Sam. Welcome to my channel Frugalisama, where I talk about all things sewing. Today is day 36 of 100 days of sewing, and today I'm just going to talk about some gift ideas for the upcoming festivities for seamstresses, or maybe if you want to either put them on your Christmas list or you're buying for somebody that you know who sews. The things that I'm going to talk about today are either things that I've received as gifts over the years, one or two things that I think would be useful. So the 100 Days of Sewing series is a series of videos that I've been putting together for anyone who's just started to sew or wants to sew on a budget. And when I say just started to sew, I mean dressmaking. So you may have been converted from quilting or bag making, or you've had a sewing machine for years and just run up curtains and things like that. So it's just to show that sewing is accessible to everybody, regardless of skill or budget. So on to today's video. So there's lots and lots of tools that are involved in sewing. I mean, my husband's got a t-shirt that says all the gear, no idea, and I think that's a bit like sewing. So I think first of all, you need to think about what kind of sewing that you're going to do. So the things that I'm talking about are obviously things that have progressed my sewing and I thought might be useful for others. So number one on the list is decent scissors. I'm not recommending these particularly. These are just some that Mum had brought over from the States. I'm not sure that you can get Ginga in the UK or not. Ernest Wright are the brand that are sort of fairly local to us. But a decent pair of scissors are always a great gift for either to add to your list, or if you're directing somebody to this video for ideas. Yes, you can obviously make do with reasonably priced IKEA ones, but dressmaking shears are always useful. And if you've already got a decent pair of scissors, maybe specialist ones such as your pinking shears, they can be quite reasonably expensive, or these little applique ones. Again, I think my mum got all three of these for me actually, bless her. Applique scissors are useful for when you're grading seams. So they're also known as duckbill scissors. I don't know what brand these are, they're absolutely perfect for me. Specialist scissors are always a great gift. I don't know if a lot of people are actually getting overlockers now rather than and thinking that they don't need pinking shears, but they are useful for other parts of sewing. So I often use pinking shears around where you're supposed to notch a seam, you know, when you're going around a curve or something like that. So I use my pinking shears for that. One of the most important aspects of sewing, and that's lighting. And my husband bought me an adjustable lamp 3 years ago, something like that. Completely surprised by it, and I think they're probably about the £80 mark. But what a game changer having decent lighting is. And just to clarify, my husband is an electrician. He's already put me some lights above my sewing station, but if you're not working in good light, regardless of how good your eyesight is, it can affect your work area, particularly if you're working on dark colours. So probably not the most romantic of gifts, but for me it was a great idea, and it wasn't asked for, you know, it was a complete surprise. The third thing on my list is a rotary cutter. I did mention this in my original video about sewing tools. Now, a rotary cutter is absolutely no good on its own. You do need a cutting mat, and that's one of the reasons why I didn't recommend it if you just started sewing, because while a rotary cutter in itself isn't very expensive, a cutting mat big enough for dressmaking can be in sort of the £80 region. So one without the other isn't a great deal of good. And you want a self-healing one as well. Rotary cutter and cutting mat is the advice from me. I actually very rarely cut out a full pattern with my scissors now. I do use a rotary cutter whenever I can, and you can get this size, or you can get a smaller size for going around small curves. And it's like anything, it's just practice. I know a lot of people say that they can't get on with rotary cutters. For quilters, they are perfect. So if you've come from a quilting background into sewing dressmaking, you will know what I'm talking about. They are, to me, far easier to use, and by that what I mean is when you're cutting with a pair of scissors, in general you will be laying your fabric out, putting your pattern on top, pinning that pattern to your fabric and then cutting round. The action of actually going into your fabric actually lifts that fabric up and it moves it about a bit. So for me, I find that using a rotary cutter, you're just using pattern weights, so you're not actually having the process of pinning, so it's time saving, and you're just going round without actually lifting the fabric and disturbing the fabric, and I find it a lot quicker and a lot easier. But it's personal preference. But it, like I say, it's not just that you're not just paying for a rotary cutter, you're paying for potentially weights. Now you can use anything for weights. I've covered that in another video on free sewing tools. That's day 34, I think. So you don't have to actually invest in pattern weights, but if you're putting it on your list, your Christmas list, you can do. But the big tip out of this is to buy as big a cutting mat as you can afford. A4 is absolutely no good for dressmaking, really. You want a A0. Put below the one that I've got. There was no point bringing it up to lift it up because it is quite big. I think you can get custom sized ones as well now. So that's number 3. So number 4 on my list is specific feet for the job. So either a walking foot or stitch in the ditch foot. Whatever sewing that you're going to do. What I don't recommend is one of these. I don't know how many we've got here. 42 different feet. I've used 2. Maybe 3. This was a gift actually from my son, and I'm not saying it's rubbish, but it's like having too many stitches on your machine. It's a bit overwhelming, and you're much better off thinking about what kind of sewing you're going to do and asking for something that's relevant to that kind of sewing. That's my personal opinion. Some people might think these are great, and they are. It's just that it's too many. Better off having something more specific to the job that you require. So spending a little bit more on a walking foot or something that's that you like a stitch in the ditch foot. I can't think of any more. Rolled hem feet, or if you're going to be doing a lot of bias binding, something like that. But if you want to put one of those on your list, put that on your list. Not saying there's anything wrong with the quality, it's just the quantity. And again, it's like anything, you need to find somewhere to store it, so you're probably better off getting one that's specific to your machine, so Janome, rather than the generic ones. So that's number 4. So number 5 on my list is subscriptions. So this is something that I've kind of done in the past and then cancelled my subscriptions, but there's all sorts of variants on it. So you've got magazine subscriptions if that's what you want. I don't find them to be that good value. Some great deals come out over Christmas actually with magazine subscriptions, so you can usually pick up like 3 magazines for £5 or something like that. They're not bad, but to continue with them, to keep being sent patterns that you're not going to use. But I'm thinking more specifically like maybe a Patreon subscription. The Love to Sew girls are now going over to seasons on their podcast, so maybe a Patreon subscription to a podcast that you like. I thought that might be a nice gift idea. Or I know a lot of people like the gift box subscriptions, where you send either a pattern, depending on what level you go in, you send a pattern and some fabric each month. They can be nice gifts. Personally, I wouldn't like that because I don't like the idea of somebody choosing a pattern and fabric that I'm going to receive every month. Something like Seam Work, you can pay for the annual subscription, or something like Craftsy. Craftsy have just relaunched, and there were some really good deals for their annual subscription. I think I paid $2.49 for an annual subscription. That will go up next year, or if you've missed that deal, they have some really good courses on there. I think did Sew Over It have a subscription for lessons as well? Yeah, so any online subscriptions, I think maybe Stitch Sisters do one, or Skillshare. There's all sorts of different sort of subscriptions without actually taking them out for a magazine. But you've got your Birdie, you've got all your sewing magazines, and your online one as well. Fibre Mood, that's a really nice one. You could buy that as a subscription. There's all sorts of different crafts that you could partake in as well. The subscription boxes, or there's like craft boxes as well. I think Gathered have put together 21 crafty subscription deals. Yeah, so there's lots of options on the subscriptions front rather than just magazines. Obviously, if that's what you want, it depends where what stage you are in your dressmaking and what sort of sewing that you want to do. You know, you might want to broaden your horizons and subscribe to like an embroidery magazine or something like that. So that's an option, and it is something I subscribe personally to Seam Work, and I get quite good value out of that. I think the annual subscription is quite a good deal because you pay an annual fee and you've got access to all of the patterns from the past as well, so you can actually make the good use of an annual subscription, download what you need, and then just cancel after that. And I think that's the thing with subscriptions, is to remember to cancel when you've had enough. Really, I think that's probably the top tip of that one. So following on from subscriptions is sewing kits. So quite a few companies put together everything that you need in order to make a specific item. And I think that can be a nice idea if it's the fabric that you particularly like. I think that's the sort of thing that you might have to earmark yourself. I don't like the idea of being prescribed what fabric I'm going to use for a pattern, but I can understand why it would be a lovely gift, because obviously you don't have to go out and source all the different bits of haberdashery. Particularly if something, for example, that needs zips and lots of fiddly little bits, like a bra making kit or something like that, would be wonderful, because all those little bits take a lot of finding. So that would be a really nice gift. I know the Avid Seamstress have got some jacket making kits. So just as a side note from the sewing kits, I know I have seen some sewing kits, as in like a sewing box with all the bits and pieces put into them, for round about the £50 mark. And when you look at the value of what's inside of those, you've got a pair of scissors and pins and sewing machine needles and a tape measure, marking tools, half a metre of fabric or whatever, and £50 I'm not naming names, but £50 including the sewing box. I think something like that, if you're considering getting that as a gift for somebody, you could put that together far more economically. And to be quite honest, and you're buying it for somebody who's already sewing, they've probably got most of that stuff. It's a great gift for somebody who's never sewn before and you're trying to encourage them to sew. But again, you could probably put something together far more economically. I've got a video coming up on bags, and amongst that there will be a craft bag, a free pattern for a craft bag. How nice would that be to actually make the craft bag and put all the bits and pieces that you know that person would like. So, you know, a nice piece of fabric that they would like to sew on, that they might not have gone out and bought themselves. I've done that myself actually as a sewing swap. So yeah, and make sure you've put a decent pair of scissors in there. Just issuing a word of caution, I think, on things like that. If you're thinking of buying something, I'm not talking to a seamstress here. I'm just talking to somebody who's maybe watching this, thinking, what can I buy somebody who already sews? Just they might already have most of that stuff, and you can probably source the things more cheaply yourself. I'm always looking erring on the frugal side. That's number 6. Number 7 would be vouchers to your favourite fabric shop. How nice would it be to treat yourself to that fabric that you've had your eye on, but it's just, you know, just a little bit out of your price range? So maybe like a Liberty voucher or something like that. Sometimes it's nice to just be able to go in and you're not having to think about how much you're spending. Friends of mine have bought me vouchers for my favourite fabric shop, which is Fabworks, in the past. And it means that you can just go whenever you like and just choose whatever you like. And obviously, you know, you've got the online option there as well. So yeah, I think for me personally, I prefer to choose my own fabric rather than have it chosen for me. This is something that I've had in the past, and most fabric shops will have the option to purchase vouchers from them. So I think that's a nice one. That's number 7. Let me know below what your favourite gift has been for sewing related. Let's have a conversation below and see what everybody's favourites are, and maybe I can compile another video and get it out before Christmas. Because everybody finds different things useful, don't they? I mean, it depends on what kind of sewing you do. So the next thing on my list is thread. And following on from saying don't get a load of stuff that you don't need and that you're not going to use, like the sewing feet, this is one of the most useful gifts that I've ever received. And it's the Gutermann, I think they call it a thread notebook. It's got 42 100 metre rolls of thread in this. And the retail for £59, I was gobsmacked how much they were. But if you think about Gutermann thread, it's usually around about the £1.80 mark. So it's actually quite good value if you think about it in that way. And you can see by all the gaps in this how much it gets used. When I had this bought, my husband actually went through it and found the ones that I'd used and weren't there, and then replenished it the year after, which I thought, again, that was pretty good thinking for him. It's been really useful as this, because how often do you start a project and you think, oh, I've got to run out to the shops, and particularly this year when you can't just run out to the shops, this has been a great gift. So this is one of the instances when I would say, you know, have all the colours. If you are erring on the frugal side, the bigger reels of thread, so I think they come in 5,000. So like your most common colours, like white, for me blue and black, maybe a neutral like a cream or a grey or something like that, which obviously it's a bigger cost. Put those together as a little package. That would also be a good idea as well, but this has been a godsend to me when I'm just looking for the right perfect match of thread, and I've almost always found it in this. So how about if you've already got enough things and you just want less things and just to improve your skills? Some of the best presents that I've had in the past have been sewing courses. I've been on 2 in-person ones. One was a Sew Over It drafting course. So I actually asked my son for a pattern drafting book, which is this one here, the Sarah Alm one, and inside it was a voucher to the Sew Over It pattern drafting course. You can't beat in-person teaching, which at the moment is obviously quite difficult. And this book is a great book, and I would recommend it, but it does require you to have a body sloper before you can do any of the pattern drafting on it. So Layla, who took the course, was really personable, really knowledgeable, and it was a really good 2-day course, and really enjoyed it. So you can't beat in person, but if in person's not possible, you don't live in London. I mean, the problem with a lot of courses is if they're not local, then you've got the additional cost of travel, and they're already relatively expensive. So online courses are absolutely brilliant. Another course I did was a brow making course at the new craft house, and that was a really enjoyable day as well. Just have a think about what skills that you want to explore. There's always something new to learn with sewing, particularly dressmaking. So, you know, the brow making course that I took was absolutely brilliant. You learned all the kit was there, so you didn't have to source any of the kit, and it's quite sociable. So it depends on your preferred method of learning. I think some people might find an actual in-person class too distracting and might prefer the idea of having something online where you can stop and start it, you're not getting distracted. So the online ones that I've done the Dressmakers blazer with closet core patterns. I can really recommend that. I'll show you a picture of the blazer that I made using that course. But yeah, I mean, there's always opportunity to extend your skills with sewing. So have a think about, and you know, these courses can be quite expensive, particularly the 2-day courses. They can be quite expensive. So definitely for me anyway, something to put on your Christmas list. Other online opportunities are Craftsy, which I've mentioned before, and Skillshare. Craftsy, I've got the ones that I've taken that I can recommend is the Kenneth King one, Genius. So if you're wanting to learn how to make jeans, his course gets you to find your favourite pair of jeans and trace off them, and all the techniques involved in that. Brilliant course. So maybe you want to focus on getting the perfect fit, and Craftsy has a few courses on that. The one that I did, I think, was with Linda Maynard. Brilliant, another brilliant course. Now, with the Craftsy annual subscription, I don't think you own the courses. They've changed their business model a little bit, and I've not quite got my head around it, but I think if you actually purchase the courses like I did or it was a gift actually, like mine was, they sent you a pattern. I'm not sure that is still the case, but it was a Vogue pattern, and basically she talks you through fitting and starting with the shoulders and moving down, and it was just invaluable really. There's many opportunities now, I think, particularly since this pandemic. A lot of people have gone onto Zoom, and there's lots of things on Creative Bug and Skillshare and Craftsy and what have you. So I would just say invest in yourself, and you know, less stuff and invest in yourself, less clutter. That is number 9. And number 10 on my list is a serger, or an overlocker, whichever you want to call it. I have done a whole video about overlockers and whether you need one or not. So if you want to have a look at that, I'm not advocating that everybody needs an overlocker, but maybe that's something that you're wanting to look at to expand your sewing skills or your sewing experience. Overlockers just make things faster. There are other ways of finishing your garments that are actually more couture, but it does make things a lot faster, especially if you're sewing knitwear like this. It does make things a lot faster and a lot easier. So that is your big budget one for me anyway. Another one would be a sewing machine. And I think with both those, have a think about what you really need. I wouldn't want somebody to go out and just buy me a sewing machine, because I know what my needs are. I'm quite perfectly happy with the one that I've got, but if I were to upgrade, I would be looking at something that would go through multiple thicknesses, so something with an automatic differential feed like the FAFs have. You know, depending on what machine you've got, if you've inherited a second-hand one, or you just got the very basic, you might be looking at something that does really nice buttonholes. So make a list of things that you want from your machine. Is ease of use an issue for you? Do you need something where you can use a knee lift, or if your hands are hurting, do you need something where it pushes it through more easily? So I'm not going to recommend any particular machine at all. I can only recommend the ones that I use. My machine is a Genome XL601, and my overlocker is a Singer, which is bought from Lidl. And I'm perfectly happy with those. But if you're watching, Eric, a faff. But no, I'm joking. Sewing machine's a big investment, and so is an overlocker. You need it to do what you need it to do. So I'm not gonna recommend a particular one. Just sit down and just do a bit of research. You know, everybody will say that theirs is the best. You know, you've got people that will say that faffs are the best. People that will say that Husqvarnas are the best. And whilst I'm on that subject, Husqvarna have got a competition on. So if you're in the market for a new sewing machine, top tip here, get yourself on Instagram, follow Fabric Godmother and Husqvarna, and tell them what your most proudest make is. And there is a competition, and I think it ends on the 24th of November. I will put all the details below for that, and good luck. So that's it from me today. Hope you win the sewing machine. I would like to do something a little bit like this, more on a weekly basis. You know, like competitions and free patterns. I've just seen a free pattern come up this week. So like quick short videos. So if that's something that you'd be interested in, just let me know below if you've got to the end of this. Just let me know below. And if this is the sort of thing that you're enjoying, let me know either in the comments, or like and subscribe, share my videos. I've never shared a YouTube video. I don't know what to share it with, but apparently that gets you noticed a bit more, so share my videos. I'll be back next week, and I will talk about some of the lower end of the budgets, things for sort of under £20, £30, and I will speak to you later. Thank you for watching. Bye.